It's been a long time coming, but Volkswagen diehards now have a new performance hero to worship. The 2024 Volkswagen Touareg R brings plug-in hybrid power to a dynamic setting, and it brings some big boasts along with it. It's the first plug-in hybrid Volkswagen in Australia, the most powerful production Volkswagen in existence, and it also is the first petrol Volkswagen Touareg in more than a decade. There is a lot to this performance SUV flagship, so let's dive right in. We've been waiting a long time for the Volkswagen Touareg R. It was first due in late 2022, then delayed until 2023, but it was then pushed back again until now, to launch alongside the regular Touareg facelift. While its predecessor relied upon V8 power, this new version gets a 3-litre turbocharged V6 engine mated to an electric motor. The hybrid system produces a combined 340 kilowatts and 700 newton meters, which is sent to an all-wheel drive system through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's now the 5th Volkswagen R product in Australia, sitting beside smaller alternatives such as the T-Roc R and Tiguan R. We've not seen a proper Touareg R in Australia before, but brand aficionados might remember the Touareg R50 with its diesel-powered V10. In terms of performance figures to set the scene, Volkswagen says the Touareg R runs from 0 to 100 km an hour in 5.1 seconds. It claims 51 kilometers of electric-only driving range, all the while returning a fuel economy of 3.3 litres per 100 kilometers according to lab testing. It comes in a singular high-specification model grade priced from $129,990 before on-road costs. Handily, there are no additional options available for the Touareg R, aside from premium paint. I think it does look pretty smart in this colour combination, but perhaps VW could have gone a little bit more aggressive. But tell me what you think in the comments below. You can pick a Touareg R thanks to its extensive use of black accenting around the exterior. Up front on this redesigned front fascia, you do get a supersized front air dam, R badging which does extend down to the side, and this car sits on a set of massive 22-inch wheels hiding a set of blue brake calipers. Well, I did say this was high specification, and it really does feel like it inside this cabin. There are a load of nice soft touch materials around the space to keep you and your passengers comfy on longer drives, and there's also plenty of tech to keep them occupied as well. I will say the interior doesn't feel ultimately sporty like you would expect in a Touareg R, especially because these seats don't have that much side support and the bolstering could come a little bit more in to keep you in place through fast cornering. But there are nice accents in general because you do have blue stitching throughout, you do get nice R embossed on the headrest there, and also you do have a really nice 30 colour ambient lighting package which really does make this an impressive cabin in the nighttime. Interior spec highlights include heated leather seats, DIN audio premium sound, 4-zone climate control, a head-up display, a panoramic sunroof, soft closed doors, and a funky night vision thermal camera to detect heat signatures after dark. Storage around the front row extends to twin cup holders, a deep lidded centre console bin, a small tray with a wireless smartphone charger, glove box, and deep door panel pockets for bigger bottles. The Volkswagen Touareg R is fitted with a gigantic 15-inch display nestled neatly within the dashboard. I like how the brand is starting to include physical hard-coded buttons again. There are nice controls along the side of the screen and even some buttons on the centre console. Users can pair Apple CarPlay or Android Auto wirelessly if they prefer those systems, but Volkswagen's own software is easy to navigate and quick to load new menu screens. It has digital AM and FM radio, plus you can tweak the home screen to your liking. It's joined by a large 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster that shows information through various screen designs. There's also a head-up display above that. Second row space and comfort is great. Now, I'm not short, I'm 194 centimeters tall, and I've got great knee room here, really good foot room, and decent amount of headroom as well, considering there is a large sunroof. But I do like the fact that this car does have a sliding and also reclining second row, so you can change that as needed. Now, in terms of amenities, you do have air controls back here, you do have seat heating on the outboard row, and it does have sun blinds, which is really handy for kids on longer touring drives. Of course, you also do get a fold-down armrest with a pair of cup holders. This boot opens electrically to reveal an 810-litre space. It also can be expanded to a full 1810 litres with the seats folded forward. Now, I do like the fact that Volkswagen does include a Mode 2 and Mode 3 charging cable as standard, however, they don't fit underneath the boot floor. But handy is the fact that this car's air suspension system can go up and down as needed with these buttons on the side, and there are latches on the side which can fold down the seats when you need them. Now, this car is all about the drive, so let's get to it. All right, while we're just getting up to speed, driving along a bit of a gravel track here, I just wanted to explain the duality of character that you will get in something like the Touareg R. Now, it is a plug-in hybrid, and while it does help performance, it is actually an EV for every day as well. So you could be driving this on electric power as we are right now, and then come to the weekend, you can actually extract that extra plug-in hybrid performance, that extra battery power that can be applied to a performance setting. And with 340 kilowatts and 700 newton meters, that is a strong performance punch. But then again, for the low speed, sort of everyday driving that you will really do in this Touareg, it is really nice and compliant for that kind of driving as well. We're going over a gravel road at the moment, and there are lots of little corrugations that the car's traveling over, and I'm not sure if you can hear it on the camera there, but it's really not phasing this car too much at all. Like, I'm driving at normal sort of speeds at the moment, and the car's really just dealing with those little road imperfections in this gravel strip here really well. There's also not that much noise coming through to the cabin either. Now, there are little rocks and sort of things flicking up into the wheel well, but overall, this car is nice and refined, and you're actually not getting that much noise. It is that nice of a grand tourer, and that's kind of exactly what you want from a large SUV like the Volkswagen Touareg. Of all the driving modes that you do get in the Volkswagen Touareg, and I've counted at least 7 of them so far, the steering weight is actually nice and pretty hefty, which is exactly the kind of experience that you want to sort of have when you're in a large SUV like this. But then again, you do put it in the sport mode, and it does weight up and give you that little bit more feedback, and it gets a little bit dartier, and you can just feed it through corners and get that nice feedback that you expect from a sporty sports SUV. While Volkswagen claims that this car will do 3.3 litres per 100 kilometres, you're really not going to see that unless you're driving it every day to and from work, doing mundane stuff. In our time with the car, we have seen about 11.2 litres per 100 kilometres, and anytime you do put it in that sport mode, that extra battery power is going to be reserved for a performance application. So you're not going to see anything near that 3.3 litres per 100 fuel economy. All right, here we are back on the bitumen, and I can switch the car up to sports mode, and the car really sort of just comes alive. You do hear that petrol engine kick in. The car has turned itself into a hybrid driving mode, and considering we are about to overtake someone right now, there's actually so much performance punch from that 3-litre turbocharged V6 engine. Now, all up, like I said, it is doing 340 kilowatts and 700 newton meters, and that will send the car from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in a claimed just over 5 seconds. So that is pretty brisk for a car so large like this. But put that performance into practice, and foot to the boards here, you do get a solid performance punch, and it is really responsive to throttle inputs. On the other hand though, you are going to want to ensure that that electric battery is charged up. Now, it is about 17 kilowatt hours gross in its capacity, and it doesn't take that long to drain the car, but the car will actually reserve that energy level for performance application when you put it into sport mode. So it does sort of serve itself there in delivering the full 340 kilowatt combined outputs. But the other side of that is once you do deplete that battery, you don't have nearly as much power punch that you do get when you have both those systems working effectively together. We've been driving the Touareg R through some tight and twisty bends today. We are on sort of rural country roads, B roads at the moment, but we have put this car through its paces through tight twisties, and its body control is really well managed through tight bends, and it changes direction really easily. The car really just pummels through those and doesn't let that much upset it, and overall it just really changes direction with savage effect, especially considering this is a large SUV. Ride compliance on the whole is generally quite good for everyday use. It is a little bit firm compared to other SUVs in the market, but this is a sporty car after all, so you do expect that sort of firmer ride quality. But when you do put it into sports mode, this car does have adaptive dampers and air suspension, so it really knows what it's doing, and it firms up to keep the body flat through corners. And that is really important when you have such a big car and being so heavy as well, especially considering that battery weight. One other thing I just want to point out is this car's braking ability. I'll sort of stamp on the brake pedal now, and this car really washes off speed with savage effect. Now, it's not light either, so those brake pads are doing a whole lot of gripping there, and it's actually really effective in how the braking ability works. One other aspect that I do wish this car had a little bit more of is aural feedback, because this car doesn't have that much of an exhaust note, it doesn't have that much of an engine note, and you don't get that feedback that you really do appreciate in a sports car. Volkswagen has said that this car will do about 50 k's of electric only range, and we were driving it around Melbourne yesterday and found that the car will do basically that. We did 42 k's, I think it was, on electric power alone, and there was plenty of left in the electric battery in reserves. And you could do even better than that, considering this car has the ability to use its regenerative braking to put more energy back into that battery. It's true that sports cars these days aren't truly about being a two-door performance low-slung coupe. Performance comes in all shapes and sizes, and considering what this car can do both every day and when you get to a twisty road, I think this truly classes as a sports car. But let's get out and sum up. The Touareg R tries to do a lot of things simultaneously. Performance car, plug-in hybrid, and also flagship family SUV. But it's a balancing act well held by this Volkswagen. We look forward to spending more time with this car throughout the year, but at the moment this is a promising first impression. If you've enjoyed this video about the Volkswagen Touareg R or learned something interesting about the model, be sure to give us a like on YouTube and stay subscribed to get all of our future reviews. You can also read the full review on this car, the Touareg R, on Drive.com.au.